Hey, everybody out there. Thanks for joining me with my first time homebuyers sequence that I'm recording on your behalf to just better inform you guys out there that are looking to own a home for the first time. So with that being said, I have Eric and Nestor joining us with First American Title. And Eric, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself better than I can and tell them a little bit more about what you do.
Hey everyone, I'm glad to be here. Eric Nestor with First American Title. As Nick mentioned, I am a title insurance sales representative for First American. My job is to make sure that transactions run smoothly and you as a first-time home buyer are secured and you have title insurance securing your ownership of the property.
Awesome. Well, let me ask you this one, Eric, because if I'm a first-time home buyer and I haven't gone through the process, why is this what sounds to be an intimidating aspect, title insurance? Why is it necessary?
Yeah, great question. So it's necessary because it protects you, the buyer, from anything that may come in the future, in your future ownership, that can hinder or jeopardize your ownership. So for example, I like to tell this story. I had a client who was selling a property, and when you sell a property, you are making sure that any liens, judgments, encumbrances on your title or on yourself as the owner are paid off. So I had a client who said, "Hey, Eric, actually, we're going to go with another title company because they're $160 cheaper for this transaction." I said, "You know what? That's fine. I completely understand if your client's trying to save some money." And what actually ended up happening is there was a judgment for $15,000 on this client's title that was supposed to be paid off through the proceeds. What happened there was that they went with another title company. That judgment was actually not paid off. And they only found out because a year later, they were trying to sell another property and that judgment was still popping up. What ended up happening was the client called me, "Hey, what do I do?" I said, "Call the claims department." So I actually personally helped the client call the claims department, and we could not get a hold of anyone. There was no claims department. I won't mention the company, but that transaction ended up not being on any of their files. And they had no record of that transaction, and that judgment was still popping up on the client's title, on their record. So the client ended up having to pay that judgment through another transaction. So it's very, very important, whether you're using our company at First American or whether you're using any other title company, make sure that they have a claims department, because if they don't, that's definitely a red flag. And you want to make sure that it's just a reputable company that will take care of you as the owner of the property.
Okay. And so that was a seller having an issue with title insurance, correct?
Correct. That was a seller. So title insurance works for both sides, the seller and the purchaser, the buyer.
Okay. And how about as a prospective buyer, when should they start looking? Let's play this hypothetical. I'm that first-time home buyer and my offer has been accepted. What's that time frame now for me for title insurance that I need to start thinking about setting that up?
Great question. So in our market, and this is, we're in April, it's 2022, right? So in our market, sellers have a lot of power. So when you, the buyer, when your offer gets accepted, more than likely the listing agent on the seller side is already, when they open escrow, they open title. So they usually go hand in hand, open title and escrow. Sometimes title is opened ahead of time to kind of know what is on title, what needs to be taken care of. So you as a buyer, you just want to make sure, and when you're working with Nick, you just want to make sure that the listing agent on the other side is working with a good, reputable title company. And you can simply ask them, "Hey, has title been opened? And is it all clear? Is it clean? Are we good to go?" So it's clean on the seller side. And if not, those things are addressed. So then on the buyer side, you're able to have peace of mind that you own the property and nothing in the future can come against that.
Perfect. Okay. How about how to take title? Because again, I'm a first-time home buyer, and maybe I don't even know how you can take title. What is your 2 cents there?
Yeah, great question. So I just shared my screen here, and we do have this vesting chart. So in taking title, you hold title in different ways. Now, we as a title insurance professional, and Nick as a real estate professional, we're not CPAs. So this is not by any means advice. But we do provide this chart that simply states the pros and cons of everything when it comes to holding title. Now, we know that one of the safest ways to hold title is in a trust. Of course, because of costs, some people may just hold title in one of these 4 ways. And these list the pros and cons of transferability, liens against one certain owner, death of a co-owner, and so on and so forth. So we provide this as a guide, but ultimately I will say, please consult with a CPA or your attorney in what's best for you, because every situation is different.
Makes sense. How about cost? So we've talked about title and the wins and why it's important. What does it cost that first-time home buyer?
Yeah, great question. So when it comes to cost, it really depends on the loan amount. So as a buyer, there's basically 2 sides to a title insurance policy. There's the side that the owner is paying for, the seller, and then there's the side that the buyer, the future owner, is paying for. So on the buyer side, because we are discussing first-time home buyers, that's based on the loan amount. So give or take, don't quote me on this, but give or take a loan amount of about $500,000, you're looking at a title insurance of about $800. Somewhere around that ballpark. Now, I will say one thing that's important to note is that you, as the buyer, you have that title insurance. It belongs to you, and you are protected so long as you own the property. So if you own the property for 30 days and decide to sell, that title insurance policy is valid for 30 days. If you own it for 30 years, that title insurance policy is valid for 30 years. And it's a one-time payment at the start of the transaction, and that's it. You pay one time and you own it, or you have it so long as you own that property.
Okay, fair enough. Eric, anything else that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I would say in a nutshell, title insurance works in the opposite way in which traditional insurances work. So for example, auto insurance, home insurance, life insurance, that all works from the present into the future, right? So if you get into, God forbid, a car accident, if someone breaks into your home, if you have an injury and you go to the hospital, those insurances come into play in that instance where you get injured either in the present or in the future. Title insurance works backwards. So title insurance protects you from anything in the previous life of the home. And by life of the home, I mean really the life of the owners who own that property. Anything that may have happened, whether it's liens, judgments, creditors, maybe even long lost siblings or family members that say, hey, I helped pay the mortgage for 5 years and property sold and I never got my share. So you as the owner, the new owner, you're covered because you have title insurance. So it works backwards in that sense.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you for joining us. Hopefully that paints a better picture for what title insurance is and why it's important. And I think at the end of the day, make sure you're asking questions because I think for prospective homeowners, especially first-time buyers, it's so important to ask those questions, understand what you're getting into, so you can make sense of things as you see these contracts and these signatures coming through to say, what am I signing on? Because even though a lot of it's DocuSign, it's still a lot of information getting thrown at you virtually simultaneously. So one thing that has stuck with me since Eric and I met is we don't want to ask for your business. We want to earn your business. So again, if you guys have questions, lean on professionals in our space to answer those questions for you because that's at no cost at the end of the day. So we're here. Feel free to reach out at your convenience. Hopefully we'll talk soon.
Thanks so much.